And welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and I have got a special treat for you guys today. I'm so excited. Traditionally, these types of videos go onto my alternate channel called Warriors Roster Reviews, but today I have TorPsy. He also goes by PsyTor. He has two accounts. He started one a little over 2 years ago, and then he found my free-to-play farming guide, the 4-pillar system, and started to apply it on an alt account about 10 months ago, a little under 10 months ago. And so this is his alt account that's basically 100% free to play, and he's been working really hard. And so quick shout out to Xylo's Vendetta 4 and TorPsy. So welcome to the video.
Thank you. Well, just want to say my second account, TorPsy, is not my second account anymore. It became my main account with all the pillars follow up and everything. It became my main account. The other one was just a big screw up. I'm still playing because I had my first order team ready, and they're all like 7-star, gear 11 and 12. So they're still quite important, but TorPsy became the most important.
Awesome. So I wanted to ask you about how you found the 4-pillar system, but really quick, I want everybody to know that's watching. This is actually a video for TorPsy. It's not actually a video for me. It's not a video to like tell people to become a roster reviewed Patreon. That's not what my goal is here. In fact, I can't keep up with them. And so, I'm not asking anyone, please, nobody has to sign up. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to bring light to the 4-pillar system and how it's worked in the life of one of my fellow patrons. And so that's the whole purpose of this. I want people to think it's not like a glorified, thing to try and get people on Patreon. It's really not. And again, I'm overwhelmed there, so feel free to just enjoy the video for what it is. But PsyTor, how did you hear about the 4-pillar system, and what did you think about it when you first saw it?
Well, my first account, PsyTor, was a big whole mess, and I had like hundreds of, not hundreds, but like lots of 7 stars characters, and all of them are not 85 because I didn't have enough droids because everything was just all over the place, and I was trying to find on the internet ways of getting things more in line. And there was a guide that I found just when I started my new account. Your pillars were not out yet, so I was starting to follow it. It was the same thing as you start your pillars, the Phoenix team. So I still was on the same track as you were. But then by looking on the internet more and more, I finally found your pillars, which just made so much sense compared to all the guides that there's out there. A good explanation and the reason why you should follow that and how to follow it properly. And breaking it into 4 pillars made it so much easier to understand how to focus. And the main point of the pillars, what I found, is focus. Keep focus, and that's how I was able to do something with my account.
Yeah, like I say, stay on target, right? So you've got a list of what I would call accomplishments in the game on this new account. I mean, it's literally like 8 to 10 months. You're not in it very far. And you have 3-starred both the credit heist and the droid smuggling in record time. Literally, your first account still isn't there yet, but you're there on this account. So pretty awesome there. 2, you've unlocked Thrawn and Palpatine very easily. And that was because you followed the Phoenix first pillar. Number 3, you unlocked R2D2 and CLS quite easily. That was some of the things out of pillar 2 that you kind of advanced to. Now I'm going to pause there on some of your advancements and speak on that. So a lot of people who have seen the pillar video, they ask a lot of questions like, do I have to stay on pillar 1 forever and until it's perfect? And can I move to pillar 2? And what if I'm done with the Cantina characters in pillar 1? Can I start doing the Cantina characters from pillar 2? So what would you say to somebody like that who has stumbled upon the 4-pillar system and wants to know kind of how you got through those first 2 pillars so quickly?
Well, the way I'm doing it, I'm just like we said, we keep focus on whatever we have to do. If some places like the Galactic War shop is easy to go through, because I mean, with Phoenix team, you're just going to finish the Galactic War so easily, and you either keep going, keep focus, or if you see that in Cantina, you can get a new character or something that is not in there, but you're done with the pillar 1, and then you're not ready to move on to pillar 2, but you also want to farm, I don't know, any characters in the farm, like Fox, if you want for a first order executioner, then you can just go for it, because you can go around a little bit, and you just have to think about where you are at, are you ready to farm this character or this character? And then that's how the pillar works, and it's easily moving around.
Yeah, so what I hear you saying, I think I hear you say it anyway, is that you can kind of mold and adapt. You don't have to be so
Yeah,
rigid. You don't have to do exactly what I say. It's a guideline, right? It's a focus guideline to kind of get you going. But I want to pause because you're one of hundreds of patrons I've had over the years, and there's a reason why you're on this video and nobody else is right now, and that's because you're pretty special. You created a guide, and what I wanted to shout out is your guide, and we're going to put the link in the description below, because what happens is you have all these characters from all these different pillars, and what I just said, you're doing a Cantina character, and all of a sudden you go from the Cantina characters in Pillar 1 being done, and what should I do? Should I go to the new Cantina characters from Pillar 2? And so you wanted to track it, and that was kind of the one thing I didn't have, right? I didn't have a tool to track your progress. I told you what to do, but didn't really give you a tool. And so you literally built an Excel spreadsheet. And I want you to talk about the spreadsheet you built, and the biggest accomplishment there is right now, that there's well over 5,000 people using your tool. That's insane. That is, like, I would say that's more successful than my 4-pillar system. I mean, I'm so excited for you. It's amazing. So tell me about your pillar system, Excel spreadsheet, why you created it, and then I will put a link in the description, because I think it's a tool everybody who's actually going to take the 4-pillar system to heart should be using.
yeah. Well, this spreadsheet was just to help me focus, and when I saw how much work I had to do to keep focus on that, I decided to start and share it. And when I saw the actual amount of people that downloaded it was absolutely insane, because I'm using Google Tracker to see how much people download it, and I'm well over 5,000 on each of my versions. The first one was quite simple. It's just a way of seeing what do I have to buy in which store at what point to follow the pillars. And then some people were like, yeah, but I want to do this, I want to do that. Can I make it interchangeable? So what I did is that the second version, I made it that you can actually change it, and then you can do your own pillars in a certain way. And that's the same thing that happens with my first account. Since I already have the first order, I kind of changed the pillars a little bit to go with the resistance next, so I can get RJT the next time she comes around. And then I saw that it was getting even bigger. So this whole work was just to help focusing, and everybody can use it. And I even know some guilds that uses that sheet to help people focusing on what they have to. And it's not only about the pillars. The farming roadmap is for each and every one, but it's always based on the pillars. When you download it, it's based with the 4 pillars, and then you can interchange everything in there, and then you can do your own farming. But it helps you focusing on each and everywhere you can farm characters. Light side territory battle, light side battles, dark side battles, squad arena, cantina battles, all the shops, and it tells you which one should be bought first or farmed first, so you have the best way and the fastest way of getting them.
Very cool. And I understand after like 9 months, you can already sim Galactic War. Most people, they struggle with that to get their 150 victories, and you're there already.
Yeah, I've been there for already almost a month, I think. And even on my first account that's been there for 2 years was not even closed until I farmed Phoenix, and now I have KRU Zeta, and now I can finish them finally. But before that, I could not do it. And yeah, I'm simming them for almost a month now.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And then you also have basically all of the mod challenges done with your current teams, which is pretty crazy. You've unlocked the tier 3 of health, critical chance, tenacity, potency, all of them without a sweat. And you unlocked the Chimera 5-star just recently, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I just unlocked it 2 days ago.
So you did get a little sidetracked not too long ago. Tell me about that. You know that the heroic pit raid is kind of old news, but you kind of wanted to have a little throwback team, and you went and sidetracked yourself intentionally. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, with my arena team and the sit raid, I wanted to get a proper team for it, or a better team. So I sidetracked a little bit with Scion and Nihilus, just to be able to get them a bit higher, because my guild that I was in before was a bit hard at it, and then we could only do tier 3. So I had to pull them up a little bit higher so we can go for tier 4. But yeah, so I sidetracked on the pillars, I sidetracked on my farming roadmap, but I still kept focus on everything else because it's only hard nodes. So it was easy for me to add them in the pillars and then just go from there and then keep track of everything else.
Pretty awesome. And I noticed that you get top 50 on fleet pretty much every day and top 200 for arena every day. And I know you said you're going to kind of go back to the pillar system because you varied just a little bit on that pillar system for Scion. I know you wanted to just chase him down since you had Darth Vader already, and you just got Thrawn to 7 stars, and you know recently, and Emperor Palpatine, of course, you had as a lead. You're already getting Zetas and stuff too. That means ships, you're doing really well in ships apparently.
Yeah, I've unlocked the Zeta challenge almost 2 or 3 months ago. When Ship 2.0 came out, the challenge was a bit easier for me. And as soon as I tried it, I got it. And I already have 2 Zetas so far. And I have my third one coming in about a week or so. Oh, sorry, I have 3 Zetas. I forgot that I have the one on Luke Skywalker already. So I have 3 Zetas already, and my fourth one coming in about 2 days or 3 days.
That's awesome. And now I'm looking at your inventory and your ships and everything, and it all looks phenomenal for the development, the time in. Everything's absolutely amazing. And you're almost at 1,000,000 GP. And I tell people, free to play can hit 1,000,000 a year basically, and you're right on track for that. So pretty cool. So now
Yep.
I want to evolve to the second half of the video, and that's just going to be your roster review. I mean, you know what you're doing. You ask me questions. We talk all the time. But is there anything that you'd like to discuss specifically on this video about your roster, about questions you may have either with either arena or territory battles or wars, and like what teams you should be using?
Yeah, well, the thing is that with the pillars, you end up with so many characters that at some point it gets a bit overwhelming, especially if you didn't have the chance to look at all the possible teams that you can have. One of the things that I know that I want to know, and a lot of people following the pillars want to know, is how to build your teams, for example, territory wars. There is so many possible teams that you can have in there, that I wanted to know which one would be good for defense, which one would be good for offense. Because just right now, I think I think it's 6 teams, and I really want to be able to keep focusing on them and make them stronger and slowly get there.
All right. And so, good question. And you do make some good teams. And the first thing you want to go through is thinking about the pillar system. Those pillars are where you're going to bring out some of the best teams. And so, the first pillar is Rebels. And specifically, it is the Phoenix Squad. And that's a good team for defense. You probably use them for defense now. And then for offense, you can use other rebels that you may have. And so, for example, on offense, I'm sure you use it now, but Commander Luke Skywalker, R2D2, Han Solo, and then, maybe like a tank, or you could put in a lot of damage and put in like, Biggs, that kind of thing. Wedge isn't quite there development wise, but he's definitely one you'll want to continue to gear and get Wedge a little bit higher, because the Biggs Wedge combo is a lot of damage, or DPS, a lot of DPS, pretty quickly. So out of Rebels right now, I'm looking at your thing. You've got about 3 teams you could make up with this. Defensively, the strongest defensive team you have would either be a Commander Luke lead, but you could save that for offense. And then there's the Phoenix. The Phoenix are good on defense, and this is why people underestimate them. They go, "Oh, that's just a Gear 9 Phoenix team. I can go in and whoop them." And they go in with maybe a C team to try and beat them, and then they lose, and then they're like, "Dang it, they just primed your team." So they have to go all in and really make sure that they're that they smoke your team, and so that forces them to kind of do a one-up and use a team that's slightly better, and that now they're having to pull out of their B teams and lose a B team on your team. So Phoenix is great. After you move out of Rebels, because you got a couple teams there, you want to move into Empire, right? Because Empire is the next pillar in the system. And so when you go to your Empire, you're not quite there for 2 teams, but you are starting to develop 2 teams. Again, one of the best defensive teams is going to be an Emperor Palpatine led team. In fact, your arena team that you're using right now is a very, very strong defensive team for territory wars. Same thing with territory battles. You can use this team for territory battles as well. By the way, territory battles, your Phoenix is required. And so you'll have those Phoenix for the Phoenix node. And your rebels you have are powerful enough. You should be able to get quite a bit of points for your team in all of the 6 phases with your, CLS and Han Solo, or CLS and R2D2 team. But the second team that I would kind of start to kind of dabble in and figure out is going to come out of Empire is going to be kind of the Troopers, because the Troopers are phenomenal, and you already have Stormtrooper and Snow Trooper, and you've got Range and Stark kind of in the bottom. You've got Veers on the bottom, and Magma Troopers there as well. And so Magma Trooper is very unique. You can use him with Grand Admiral Thrawn Lead to go against the Scions of the world, and you can kind of create that infinite loop. So he's a distance off for you, but Magma Troopers one I would definitely be looking at or eyeing as far as development. Same thing with General Veers. He's kind of the heart, if you want to say that, of that team. So General Veers and Magma for now, and then down the road when the availability for Range Trooper comes around, you'll probably want to develop him because he's phenomenal. Between him and Veers, it's really hard for your Imperial Troopers to die. And you can use the Imperial Troopers on defense or offense, but I prefer offense because they can go against other Empire teams pretty well, or they can go against other Night Sisters teams. As far as territory battles goes in territory wars, First Order, just like your old account, First Order is a pretty good team to go against. But currently on this particular team or this particular setup, your First Order is what you're going to do in Pillar 4, right? You've chosen to do Pillar 4 first and then Pillar 3 second after it. So you're swapping those two pillars, and that's okay. You're welcome to do that. But the First Order that you have currently aren't really strong enough yet to kind of do anything with at this point. So then we would go to, of course, your Resistance and take a look at them. And you're just starting to I think you're just starting to flesh out your Resistance. R2D2 looks good. You've got a 7-star pilot. And Scavenger, Poe, and Finn. Those are going to be the next 3 you really should probably dive into when you're ready for Resistance. And Resistance I would use, if you're going to use like a Finn lead that eventually gets Zeta'd with Poe, I would use that as an offensive team. And then when down the road you unlock JTR, I would use her as with R2D2 and BB-8 as a defensive team on Territory Wars. And on Territory Battles, really the whole Finn lead with the Exposed team is amazing. It's the MVP team. It's the number 1 team. It was when Territory Battles for Lightside first came out, it was the very first team that could just easily beat every node all the way through all 6, even at Gear 8. And that was kind of an amazing feat because with every other team, they needed to be Gear 11, Gear 12 to even compete. So just keep that in mind with Resistance. And then let's see, your Scoundrels are something you kind of on the side develop, both for, the credit heist and droid smuggling. But these are guys you're going to pull from on light side and dark side for territory battles and territory wars. And building teams. Boba Fett lead is right now going to be probably the route you would want to go for territory wars. And you would probably want to do that on offense. Now, if you were ever going to sidetrack yourself on a particular character, I would say Infus Nest is a character you're going to want to sidetrack yourself on. The other thing is when you get to deciding you want to develop your Scoundrels a little deeper, you're going to want to develop Bosk. Bosk is now farmable, and he's really the best lead, in my opinion, for the Dark Side Scoundrels. But Infus Nest is that one side project I would probably recommend because, even her at 3 stars is phenomenal, and her Zeta is not required, but is definitely encouraged. Let's see, what other teams haven't we talked about? Oh, Night Sisters are kind of the resistance of the Dark Side. They're kind of a guaranteed win through everything. So at some point, once you're kind of 3 or 4 pillars, you have your BB-8 because of your First Order, and you got JTR because of your Resistance. Once you get past those 4 pillars, that's when I suggest you start developing like the Bounty Hunters and the Night Sisters and some of those other teams. I call them fancy teams, right? They're the teams that you can't really afford to have until you've got the base of what you should, have. And so those are teams you'll want to develop. You do have some Jedi, and so you could make a Jedi team both for offense or defense. And you have Bastila Shan, and she's interesting for sure. She's definitely one of those characters that she's not free to play right now, but she is viable at 3 stars if she's geared up and her leadership is Zeta. But even without her, you're looking like you're getting closer and closer to getting Grandmaster Yoda. Very close, in fact, to getting Grandmaster Yoda. And so that's a character, once you have him, he's part of the pillar system. You'll want to level him up. And that's a great offense team for territory battles and territory wars, and bringing in characters such as Obi-Wan Kenobi. You can also mix and match. So putting in some rebels underneath Jedi do wonders with like a Grandmaster Yoda lead with Old Ben, and then Jedi Consular maybe for some healing, and then bring in like Biggs and Wedge for the massive DPS. And with all of the buffs and stuff from Yoda, all of a sudden with armor penetration, you've got Biggs and Wedge hitting for 20 to 40,000, and you're like, wow, I didn't know my Gear 8 Wedge could do that. But so that's something you could do, is pretty cool. So is there something specific, a specific team that you feel like you want to develop but haven't, that you kind of want permission to develop, or are you pretty focused on Resistance and then First Order next?
No, I think, well, the first thing I'm going for now is the my Imperial Trooper with Veers and Magma Trooper. Actually, Magma Trooper is a good example of those sidetracks that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Because the Galactic War shipments, there's not that many characters that we have in there, and I'm not gonna do a Phasma for another little while. And I mean, Magma Trooper I know can be a massive damage, so I'm the one that I'm focusing on. And by the way, just a little correction: my First Order team is on my first main account. This one, on TorPsy, I'm still going for the pillars 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, okay. So you said you did them backwards on your first account, but you're going to do them correctly on this account. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, no, I'm laser focused on this one.
Nice.
And that's why.
Yeah.
So the next big team I'm going for this one is going to be my Empire. That's why General Veers is almost there. Next territory battle, I'll probably be ready for the Imperial Probe Droid. So I'm really going forward with them. And yeah, I think my next team that I want to work is Imperial Troopers. So which one would you say? So General Veers would be later,
Yep.
and then Magma Trooper, Snow Trooper, Stormtrooper, and who will be the fifth one?
Colonel Stark.
Colonel Stark. Okay,
Yep.
definitely. Cool.
Yep. Yeah. Colonel Stark is kind of like, how Biggs is to Wedge, Chert is to Baze. Colonel Stark is to Veers.
Okay.
The two
Good
of them, the buffs they put up make everybody else just insane. Plus, the two of them do decent damage themselves. They're just both MVPs, and so Colonel Stark's cool because you don't even need his Zeta; you just need him. That's it. And then Veers, you really want his Zeta. That's what really makes it pop. But those two, and then down the road, if I wouldn't put a ton more into Stormtrooper, I'd probably kind of, because he's tankier, I'd probably just kind of leave him. And then in a few months, range is going to become free to play farmable, and that's where the substitution could be made, right? Instead on your thing, swap out Storm for range. But you may not do that. You may just find that you've got enough in Stormtrooper that you don't. But that's just a suggestion. But yeah, Imperial Troopers are great. And then after the Imperial Troopers, after you're blasted through this, so the next thing you're moving through is Resistance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. And then First Order, and then you'll probably move on to, I'm guessing, Night Sisters after First Order, because you'll be off the pillar system.
Definitely, because on my main account, I have Night Sisters now, and I'm about to Zeta Asajj lead, and that's going to be a whole mess for a Sith raid. There's so much damage possible with them. So yes, for sure, they're going to be my 5th pillar.
Yeah, definitely. And if I was going to do a 5 or 6 pillar system, I'd have put them in it, but I didn't, because I wanted to keep it simple. Because I mean, how long does it take to work through a pillar for you, do you think? I mean, you're through basically 2 in 10 months, so it takes almost 4 to 6 months, right, for a pillar?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you're
4 to 6 months, and it gets a bit longer after that because I mean, like Wedge is really long to farm, and I know the vets are really long to farm. So that's why it's pretty cool because Pillars 1 and 2 gives you a really massive backbone, and then after that you can just do so many things with what you get from Pillars 1 and 2. So yeah, it might be a bit long, but it's entirely worth it.
Yeah. Well, TorPsy, I appreciate you coming on to the channel, sharing your roster with us, and explaining the four pillar system and how it applied to you. I appreciate you building that tool, that Excel spreadsheet, and sharing it with the world. I'm super impressed with your development. You're definitely one of those success stories for sure. And I hope everybody else hearing this sees this not as a jam for more patrons, rather as just a shout to TorPsy for all of his successes in the game. And if you're interested in knowing more about the pillar system, obviously I have a video on the four pillar system. It's my free to play farming guide that's been updated for 2018. And it's a pretty cool video, I'll say. And then there's also going to be a link in the description of this video for your Excel spreadsheet that other people can download and utilize. So thank you very much for coming on my channel and chatting. And of course, I look forward to more private chats with you down the road.
Cool. Thanks to you, and thanks for the pillar. That was a great help.
Awesome. No worries. Hey, if anybody has any ideas, questions, or thoughts for TorPsy, leave them in the comments down below and keep your gaming on. Warrior out.